The deep space relay station floated in the quiet darkness of the outer rim. It was a lonely place, far from the busy trade routes and far from any planet that could be called home. For months, its crew had seen nothing more exciting than the slow drift of asteroids and the distant glow of far-off suns. Commander Rion stood by the observation window, hands behind his back, watching a pale blue star shimmer in the distance. The hum of the station's systems was the only sound. Rion preferred quiet postings like this. The outer rim might be dull, but it was safe. At least, it had been until now. The silence broke when the communications officer, a young man named Bren, sat up straight at his console. His eyes widened as strange patterns appeared on his screen. He tapped quickly, trying to stabilize the signal. "Commander, I'm picking up something unusual," Bren said, his voice tight. Rion turned. "Unusual how?" "It is an audio burst, mixed with some kind of visual code. Definitely not human." That caught Rion's attention. He walked to Bren's station and leaned over his shoulder. The screen showed jagged lines of data mixed with blurred, flickering images. The voice in the transmission was high-pitched, almost musical, but the tone carried panic. "Can you clean it up?" Rion asked. Bren worked quickly, filtering static and running translation algorithms. After a few tense moments, the message came through in broken but understandable standard. "To any who hear us, we are under attack. Our ships are falling. We cannot escape. Please, we beg you, help us." The voice cracked near the end, followed by a loud burst of interference. Then silence returned. Rion and Bren exchanged a glance. Neither spoke for a moment. The outer rim was not known for inhabited systems, let alone ones that could send messages like this. "Where is it coming from?" Rion asked. Bren checked his readings. The signal originated about 18 light-years from here, beyond the map's safe travel routes. "That is deep in the uncharted zone." Rion straightened, his mind racing. An alien SOS from beyond safe space was not something you ignored, but it was also not something you charged into without thought. The uncharted zone was dangerous. Navigation was unreliable. An old report spoke of strange ships attacking travelers. "Send the recording to Central Command," Rion said. "Mark it urgent." Bren nodded and began transmitting. While they waited, Rion walked to the tactical display. The map projected in the air showed a faint red marker where the distress call had come from. The path to reach it crossed through 3 regions marked with hazard symbols: dense asteroid fields, an iron storm corridor, and a sector where several ships had vanished in the past decade. The door hissed open, and Chief Engineer Laura stepped in, wiping her hands on a rag. She had been running maintenance on the relay's power core, but came quickly when she heard about the signal. "I take it the rumor is true," she said. "We just heard a distress call from someone not human." Rion nodded. "A species we do not know. They are under attack by something strong enough to shatter their fleet." Laura crossed her arms. "And Command will probably want us to sit here and wait while they discuss it for weeks." "Maybe," Rion said, "or maybe they will send someone right away." The station's alert chime interrupted them. Bren looked up from his console. "Commander, incoming priority message from Central Command." Rion stepped over. The message appeared as text on the display, marked with the highest urgency code. To Commander Rion. "Deep Space Relay 47. Immediate deployment authorized. Proceed to distress coordinates. You are to investigate, provide aid if possible, and report enemy composition and strength. Patrol ship Iron Spear will rendezvous with your team en route. Prepare for combat conditions." Rion felt his chest tighten. Central Command did not often authorize combat-ready deployments to the uncharted zone. "Looks like they made their decision," Laura said. Rion gave a short nod. "We leave within the hour." The crew moved fast. Supplies were packed, weapons checked, and navigation charts loaded into the relay's attached patrol craft. The Iron Spear was already known among frontier crews as a reliable, tough ship, fast enough to run, strong enough to fight. Rion had served aboard it once before. As he strapped into the command chair, Rion considered what they were about to face. The alien message had been full of fear, and fear was a rare thing to hear from spacefarers. If something could break a species badly enough to make them send an SOS to strangers. It was worth taking seriously. The patrol craft detached from the relay station with a deep metallic thud. The engines lit, and the stars outside the viewports shifted as they turned toward the uncharted zone. Bren kept the comms open in case more fragments of the message came through. Course plotted. The navigator reported. Estimated time. To rendezvous with the Iron Spear. 12 hours. Engage. Rian said. The craft surged forward. The familiar pull of acceleration pressing the crew into their seats. Outside, the endless dark of the rim gave way to faint ribbons of gas clouds and the dim light of farsuns. Hours later, the Iron Spear came into view along. Sleek ship with heavy armor plating and multiple gun ports along its sides. It was a vessel built for trouble, and trouble was exactly where they were headed. The two ships matched course and speed, and a secure channel opened between them. The captain of the Iron Spear, a tall, broad-shouldered man named Torn, greeted Rian with a firm nod. Glad to have you with us, Torn said. We heard the recording. Nasty business. Any idea what kind of enemy we are facing? Rian asked. Torn shook his head. None. We only know they are strong enough to wreck an entire fleet and bold enough to attack in open space. We will know more when we see them. The channel closed, and the two ships accelerated together into warp space. The stars stretched into thin lines as the uncharted zone drew closer. Rian leaned back in his seat, watching the streaks of light slide past. Humanity had many names among the alien races. They had met, some respectful, some fearful. The one that stuck most often was Deathworlders, a title given to those who had evolved in a harsh, dangerous world and learned to survive against impossible odds. Humans were used to fighting for every scrap of safety they had. If the aliens who sent the SOS were counting on anyone to come, they could not have chosen a better kind of ally. The warp tunnel pulsed with faint blue light as the Iron Spear and Rian's patrol craft raced toward the unknown. The crew worked quietly, checking and rechecking systems. No one knew if they would arrive in time, but no one planned on turning back. Far ahead, in the cold emptiness beyond the charted maps, a battle was waiting. The warp engines hummed deep inside the Iron Spear, a steady rhythm that kept the ship moving through the strange blue corridor of faster-than-light travel. Commander Rian stood on the main bridge beside Captain Torn, both watching the shifting patterns of light ahead. The crew worked quietly at their stations, each member focused on their duties. Every one of them understood the seriousness of this mission. The distress call was not just a cry for help, it was also a warning. The voice in that transmission had been filled with fear, and fear in space usually meant death was close. Captain Torn broke the silence. You know what they call us out there, Rian? Rian gave a small nod. Deathworlders. I have heard it many times. Torn's eyes stayed fixed on the light tunnel beyond the viewport. Some say it with respect, others say it as a curse. Either way, the name has truth. We are not like the soft species. We are not built for safe worlds. Our homeworld was dangerous before we ever built ships. Storms, predators, diseases. Earth gave us sharp teeth before we reached the stars. Rian understood exactly what he meant. Humanity had grown strong in a place that demanded strength. When they left their world, they carried that strength. With them, many alien species traded with humans but did not wish to fight them. A few had tried and regretted it. Bren, the communications officer, turned from his console. Captain, I'm getting small data fragments in the same frequency as the SOS. It is weak but repeating every 20 seconds. Put it on audio. Torn said. The bridge filled with the faint sound of static mixed with a broken voice. Words cut in and out, but the meaning was clear enough. They were everywhere. Heavy losses cannot hold much longer. The sound faded again. Rian's jaw tightened. They are still alive, but for how long? Torn gave the order without hesitation. Increase power to the warp drive. I want every fraction of speed we can get. The chief engineer, a woman, named Kale, called from the engine room. We can give you 12% more speed, but the drive will run hot. If we push it too long, we will need to shut down for cooling. Do it, Torn said. We will worry about cooling later. The ship surged forward, the hum of the engines deepening. Every crew member felt the change. They were rushing headlong toward danger, but no one spoke against it. In the armory, Gunnery Officer Mara inspected the heavy rail cannon control systems. The weapons crew worked beside her, checking every barrel, loading ammunition racks, and running targeting diagnostics. Rail slugs' dense metal projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds. We're a human specialty. Many alien fleets used energy, weapons for precision and elegance. Humans used both. But railguns had a special place in their war doctrine. A slug from a railgun could punch through layers of armor and keep going. Mara spoke to her team in a calm but steady tone. When we drop out of warp, I want every gun ready to fire within seconds. The moment the enemy sees us, they will test our strength. We will show them we are not prey. In the hangar bay, drone pilots prepared their swarms. Each drone was small but fast, armed with either light cannons or jamming emitters to disrupt enemy targeting. Swarm tactics were another human specialty. While a single drone might not be dangerous, dozens moving in perfect coordination could overwhelm much larger ships. Meanwhile, in the medbay, Dr. Ellen and her staff organized supplies for casualties they might receive. They had no idea what the alien survivors looked like or what their biology required, so they prepared for as many possibilities as they could. Portable atmosphere domes, adjustable med beds, and universal nutrient fluids were lined up and ready. Back on the bridge, the navigator announced, "We will reach the outer edge of the distress coordinates in 18 hours at current speed." Torin nodded and turned to Rian. "You served on the Rim 4 years. You know the stories about the uncharted zone. Do you think they are true?" Rian considered his answer. "Some of them, yes. I have seen the wrecks myself. Ships torn apart. No escape pods launched. No sign of the crews. If those were the same attackers, then we are facing something organized, not random raiders. Then we cannot meet them as traitors or diplomats," Torn said. "We meet them as Deathworlders." The bridge grew quiet after that. No one disagreed. Hours later, the Iron Spear passed into a region marked on old charts as the Veil Corridor. Here, dust clouds hung thick, dimming the starlight and giving the space outside a shadowed, shifting quality. Sensors showed strange energy spikes, but they were too far away to identify. The crew moved carefully, keeping shields raised and weapons powered. In the mess hall, small groups of crew members sat together, talking quietly. Some spoke about what kind of species had sent the SOS, others speculated about the attackers. The common thread in every conversation was a determination to reach the fight in time. Rian walked through the hall, stopping at tables to speak with the crew. He reminded them why humanity had come this far into the unknown to stand beside those who could not stand alone. That was the legacy of the Deathworlders. Later, as he returned to the bridge, the sensors officer called out, picking up faint heat signatures ahead. Could be wreckage, could be ships running cold. Torn ordered a cautious approach. The Iron Spear slowed, and the blue of the warp tunnel collapsed back into the blackness of real space. The void outside was filled with the drifting remains of ships. Shattered hulls turned slowly, some still glowing faintly from energy burns. Brent scanned the wreckage. Several are not in our database, likely the alien species from the SOS. Others are unknown. Unknown as in civilian traders, Rian asked. Brent shook his head. Unknown as in no record at all. Their design is unlike anything we have logged before. Torrance studied the wrecks. If those are enemy ships, then they do not mind losing their own. That makes them dangerous. The crew felt the weight of those words. Enemies who did not fear losses were harder to break. They pressed forward again, leaving the graveyard of ships behind. Somewhere ahead, the fight was still going on. As the Iron Spear slipped back into warp, Rian felt the same thought turn over in his mind again and again. The aliens who sent the SOS had called to the stars for help, against all odds. That call had reached humans, and when Deathworlders answered, they did not come with empty hands. They came armed, ready, and unwilling to leave anyone behind. The hours counted down. Soon, they would see the truth of what they were facing. And when they did, humanity's legacy would speak for itself in the fire of their guns. The Iron Spear and its escort craft pushed deeper into the uncharted zone, the warp tunnel shifting around them like a living thing. The blue light outside the viewports flickered now and then as if the very fabric of space was unstable in this region. On the bridge, Captain Torn studied the navigation display. "We are entering the first hazard zone. Asteroid field ahead. Moving fast on irregular orbits. Navigator, plot a path through with minimal thruster use. We do not want to light ourselves up for any watchers." "Aye, Captain," the navigator replied, hands moving over the console. A web of glowing lines spread across the display, marking safe routes between the tumbling rocks. The ship dropped out of warp, and the black void was suddenly alive with movement. Hundreds of massive asteroids spun slowly or darted past, their surfaces marked by ancient impacts. Some were the size of cities. The Iron Spear glided forward, its thrusters firing in short bursts to avoid collisions. From his station, Bren monitored all frequencies. No signals so far. If anyone is out here, they are keeping silent. Rion kept his eyes on the tactical map. He had crossed asteroid fields before, but never one so dense and unpredictable. "Keep an eye on those large ones," he said. "They could hide a ship until it is too late." As the Iron Spear passed a cluster of jagged rocks, the escort craft shifted to the starboard side, scanning for movement. The asteroid shadows seemed almost alive, their shapes changing as they spun. A sudden flash of light caught Rion's attention. "Sensor ping, bearing 089. The tactical officer reported. The crew tensed, the scanners locked on. But the reading faded almost instantly. It could have been sunlight glancing off metal, or it could have been something much worse. "Stay sharp," Torn ordered. "We keep moving. No unnecessary stops." It took the tense hours to cross the field. When they finally cleared it, the navigator gave a quiet report. "Asteroid zone behind us. Entering Ein Storm Corridor in 4 minutes." The Iron Spear eased back into warp, but the view ahead was no calmer. The iron storms in this sector were unpredictable. Great clouds of charged particles drifted in space, their energy strong enough to cripple shields if a ship stayed inside too long. The bridge lights dimmed as the ship's systems shifted to storm mode. Extra shielding was routed to the hull, and all non-essential power systems went offline. The hum of the engines deepened, carrying a faint vibration through the deck. The storm closed around them. Bright flashes danced across the viewports, and arcs of energy rolled across the hull. The Iron Spear cut its speed, navigating between the thickest clouds. "This is worse than I expected." Kell's voice came over the comm from engineering. "We are holding, but I will not risk staying in here longer than needed." "Understood." Torn replied. "Navigator, find the fastest path through without tearing the hull apart." Minutes dragged into an hour. The crew worked with quiet focus, steering clear of the worst energy surges. Twice they had to make sharp turns to avoid sudden bursts of charged gas that could have cooked their systems. Finally, the ship emerged from the storm's far edge. The blackness beyond felt almost peaceful in comparison. "We are clear," the navigator confirmed. The relief was short-lived. Bren's console chimed, picking up debris ahead, small fragments, metal and ceramic. No energy readings. The Iron Spear slowed as the wreckage came into view. It was the remains of a small convoy, 3 cargo haulers into escort ships, all torn apart. Some hull sections were scorched, others shredded as if ripped by enormous claws. "Scan for survivors," Torn ordered. The results came back quickly. No life signs, no active beacons. This happened days ago. Rion looked at the torn metal on the main screen. "This is not from random collisions. Something did this deliberately." The crew worked in silence as the ships navigated through the field of wreckage. No one liked passing through graveyards. It was a reminder of what could happen if they failed. Once clear, the Iron Spear resumed full speed toward the third hazard zone, the place where multiple ships had vanished over the years. The transition was almost invisible. One moment, the star field outside looked normal. The next, the stars seemed to dim slightly. As if a thin mist hung in the void, sensors picked up faint anomalous shadows without sources. Patches of space that absorb scans. This place is wrong, Mara said from the weapons station. Feels like someone is watching. Bren checked the comm bands again. Still nothing. Either the attackers are not here, or they are hiding perfectly. They pushed forward. The crew grew quieter, their eyes drawn to the strange shifting of light outside. Twice the long range sensors caught glimpses of shapes moving against the stars, but both times the readings vanished before they could be confirmed. Then, without warning, the tactical console lit up. Contact, multiple heat signatures ahead. Faint, but moving. Torn stepped closer. How many? 5 at least, maybe more. They are spread out, possibly trying to flank us. Rion's voice was calm but firm. Keep shields at full, and weapons ready. If they make a move, we respond hard and fast. The contact stayed at the edge of sensor range, never closing fully. After 30 minutes, they faded away entirely, as if they had never been there. They are testing us, Rion said, measuring our strength before committing. They will not find us an easy target, Torn replied. Hours later, the navigators marked their arrival point. Beyond this stretch lay the source of the SOS. The crew knew that whatever waited ahead had already destroyed fleets and left graveyards behind. But they also knew something else. Humans did not turn away from a call for help. The Iron Spear and its escort adjusted course, their engines burning bright against the dark. Every weapon was charged, every drone armed, every crew member ready. The hazards of the uncharted zone were behind them, but the true danger was just ahead. As the final jump prepared to engage, Rian looked across the bridge. When we drop out of warp, we go in ready. We are Deathworlders. Let them learn what that means. The warp engines roared to life, and the stars stretched once more. The unknown was waiting. The Iron Spear dropped out of warp with a burst of light, its escort craft emerging beside it. The sudden silence after the warp tunnel's hum was broken only by the steady beeping of the sensors. On the main view screen, the scene unfolded in grim detail. The alien fleet was in chaos. Several ships drifted without power, their hulls cracked and burning. Others were still moving, but their maneuvers were slow and desperate. Round them, black, angular warships closed in like predators circling wounded prey. Magnify, Captain Torren. Order. The display zoomed in on the attackers. Their ships were sharp-edged and shaped like predatory fish. With layered armor and glowing red weapon ports, they moved with cold precision, cutting off escape routes and firing in coordinated volleys. Every blast that struck the alien ships tore away more armor, spilling glowing fragments into the void. Bren's voice was tense. Those are not in our database. Their whole composition is dense, and they are carrying heavy beam weapons. Their shields are tuned for energy resistance, not physical impact. Rion stepped forward, which means our railguns will hurt them badly. Torn gave the order without hesitation. Weapons free. All stations engage targets at will. Mara, take the lead with the rail batteries, drones to flanking positions, shields up to maximum. The Iron Spear surged forward. Rail slugs screamed from its main guns. Invisible to the eye but deadly on impact, the first volley slammed into the nearest enemy ship, punching through its side and blowing chunks of armor into space. The enemy's formation shifted instantly, several ships turning to face the new threat. The alien survivors saw the arrival of the humans and hesitated. Unsure whether this was rescue or another enemy, their hesitation ended when the Iron Spears. Drones swarmed into the fight, jamming enemy targeting systems and firing at exposed thrusters. Contact with alien fleet, Bren reported. I am sending them a short message in Standard. We are here to assist. Follow our lead. One of the damaged alien ships responded with a weak signal. Just 3 words. We'd thank you. The battle turned into a storm. The enemy, now identified by the survivors as the Scourge, tried to overwhelm the Iron Spear with concentrated fire. Bright red beams slashed across the shields, making them flare white with heat. Shields holding at 82%. The tactical officer reported, return full fire. Torn said, Mara's crews fired again. This time, The rail slugs tore through the bridge section of a Scourge frigate, sending it spinning away. Another burst of fire from the forward plasma batteries burned across the hull of a second enemy ship, melting armor and disabling weapons. The alien survivors began to regroup under the Iron Spear's cover. Several small craft moved to protect their largest remaining ship, which appeared to be a command vessel. Its hull was covered in deep scars, but its engines still burned brightly in the medbay. Dr. Ellen monitored incoming signals from escape pods. We have life signs from ejected pods near the debris field. If we can clear the enemy from that sector, I can send retrieval teams. Rian heard her through the bridge comm. We will make space for that. Hold until we push them back. The Scourge adjusted tactics. Two of their ships tried to flank the Iron Spear, one diving low, the other climbing above. Torn countered immediately. Drone wings 3 and 4 intercept high target. Starboard rail battery. Fire on low target now. The lower ship took the hit first. The rail slugs pierced deep, and a secondary explosion rippled along its side. The upper ship was swarmed by drones. Its targeting system scrambled until a plasma strike from the Iron Spear split its armor open. For the first time, the Scourge seemed unsure. Their advance slowed, and their formation widened. Bren's console chimed. Incoming short-range transmission from the alien command vessel. They identify themselves as the Rolari. Their leader requests direct voice contact. Patch them through, Torn said. The voice that filled the bridge was high and smooth, but it shook with exhaustion. This is Reelan, commander of the Rolari defense. We have been hunted for years. I do not know why you came, but you fight, as no other has fought for us. This is Captain Torn of the Iron Spear. Torn replied. Your distress call reached human space. We came because you asked for help. Hold position and we will drive them off. Rellen's voice softened. Then we will hold, and we will remember. The line cut as the battle raged on. The Iron Spear's guns roared again, shattering another Scourge ship. The Rolari forces, inspired by the humans' arrival, began counterattacking in tight formations. They moved like prey that had found courage in the shadow of a predator. Even greater than their hunters, enemy formation breaking, the tactical officer reported. Torn's eyes narrowed. They are not finished. They are pulling back to regroup. Do not let them draw us too far from the survivors. Rian nodded. We have made our point. They know now that we are not an easy kill. The surviving Rolari ships fell in close behind the Iron Spear, using its bulk as a shield. Several escape pods drifted towards safe zones where recovery teams could reach them. Dr. Ellen's med teams prepared to move the moment the firing stopped. But the Scourge were not retreating entirely. They lingered at a distance, their ships slowly shifting position. Bren checked the readings and frowned. Captain, they are moving into a wide arc. I think they are planning a second strike with heavier ships. Torn's voice was calm but firm. Then we will be ready for them. No one here is dying today if I can help it. The bridge crew moved with steady precision. Weapons were reloaded, shield generators checked, and drones brought back for repairs. The Iron Spear had entered the fight without hesitation, and now it stood as a wall between the Scourge and the Rolari. For the first time since they had entered the uncharted zone, Rion felt something close to satisfaction. They had arrived in time. They had fought back the first wave. And they had shown the Rolari and the Scourge what it meant. When Deathworlders answered a call for help, the enemy would come again. Rian knew it, and so did every crew member. But they would meet that second wave with the same resolve that had carried them across hazards and through danger to this place. On the far edge of the battlefield, the Scourge ships began to shift once more. The next clash was moments away. The black shape of the alien warship loomed above the dead moon. Its metal surface reflected faint light from the nearby gas giant, making it look like a predator waiting in the shadows. The human fleet slowed as they approached, scanning for weak points. Commander Ross stood on the command deck of the lead ship, the Resolute, watching the tactical display. Red icons marked enemy weapon placements, and blue icons showed human positions. Hold formation, Ross ordered. His voice was calm. But everyone on the bridge felt the tension in the air. The alien distress signal had warned of this enemy, but seeing it in person was different. The warship was massive, built for destruction. On the alien ship's bridge, Captain Varric of the rescued Naru people watched with both fear and hope. He had never seen humans fight, but he had heard the stories. His people had sent out a desperate SOS, and the humans had answered. Now he wondered if that decision would save his species or doom them. The silence broke as the first enemy shot lanced out from the alien warship. A beam of searing energy cut through space, grazing the shields of the Resolute. The deck shuddered under the impact, shields holding at 92%. Reported the tactical officer. Ross leaned forward. Target their forward batteries. Fire all main guns. The Resolute roared to life. Blue plasma bolts streaked across the void, slamming into the enemy ship. Explosions rippled along its hull. Human warships moved in perfect coordination, smaller frigates darting in to strike at the enemy's exposed flanks, while the larger cruisers held the main battle line inside the enemy vessel. The hostile species known as the Trask adjusted their tactics. They had fought many races before, but the humans were different. They did not retreat when fired upon. They pressed forward, trading blow for blow. Their attacks were relentless, like a storm that refused to fade. The battle grew more chaotic as fighter wings launched from both sides. Human pilots weaved through enemy fire, their ships dancing between bursts of plasma. One fighter, piloted by Lieutenant Mason, dove under the warship's defenses and delivered a direct missile strike to an engine pod. The explosion lit up the darkness, shaking the enemy vessel. Engine output down by 30%, came the report from the enemy control deck. Trask officers hissed in frustration. Ross knew they had to keep the pressure on. Advance, close the distance. Switch to close-range railguns. The Resolute surged forward, its heavy weapons tearing into the enemy hull. Fragments of armor floated away as the warship's defenses began to falter. Naru ships, lightly armed but eager to help, joined the attack, focusing fire on weak points revealed by the humans. Captain Varric watched in awe. The humans were not only fighting for themselves, they were fighting for his people as if it were their own battle. Every maneuver, every shot, was a display of determination. The enemy tried one last desperate move. The Trask vessel powered up. Its main cannon, a weapon capable of vaporizing an entire cruiser with a single shot. Energy built along its length, glowing brighter with each passing second. Ross saw it. All ships, concentrate fire on that cannon. Bring it down before it fires. Every ship in the human fleet turned its weapons toward the massive barrel. Plasma fire, railgun rounds, and missile trails filled the space between the two forces. The cannon's glow faltered, then erupted in a chain of detonations. A fireball ripped through the enemy ship, tearing it apart from within. The silence that followed was almost unreal. Wreckage drifted in all directions. Glowing faintly from the heat of the battle, cheers erupted on the Resolute's bridge. Varric lowered his head in gratitude, speaking softly in his native tongue. The humans had done more than answer a call for help. They had proven that even in the darkest of battles, they could turn the tide. Ross gave the order to stand down from combat. Readiness, but his mind was already on what came next. The war was not over. The Trask had lost a ship, but not the will to fight. The humans had shown their strength, and now the enemy would see them as a true threat. As the fleet regrouped near the silent moon, the stars seemed a little brighter. The Naru survivors sent messages of thanks, but the humans only nodded in return for them. The battle was just one step in a much larger war, and in Ross's heart there was no doubt. They would answer the next call for help the same way, with courage, with unity, and with firepower. The battle had reached a dangerous calm. The iron spear floated near the edge of the shattered battlefield. Smoke and debris drifted lazily through space where once fleets had clashed fiercely. Commander Rion stood at the bridge window, watching the distant stars blink softly in the black. But calm would not last. The enemy, the Scourge, were regrouping. "We will not let them strike again," Rion said firmly. Round him, the crew prepared. The railguns were reloaded, drones recharged, and plasma batteries set to maximum power. Captain Torn addressed the crew over the comm. "This is our chance to turn the tide. We set a trap and make the Scourge pay for every ship they lost. Every moment we hesitate, more of our allies suffer. We strike hard and fast. The Iron Spear moved into position near a field of drifting wrecks. Large sections of destroyed ships created perfect cover in a deadly maze for anyone trying to navigate quickly. The plan was simple: use the debris as bait and draw the Scourge into a kill zone. Drones zipped through the wreckage, emitting false signals that mimicked an unguarded repair team. The enemy would not resist attacking what looked like easy prey. Re-uncheck the tactical map. We have several escape pods near the debris. If the trap works, we can rescue survivors while the enemy is distracted. The Scourge appeared sooner than expected. Dark ships glided from the shadows, their weapons charged and their movements sharp. They had not expected the humans to fight back so quickly. Open fire, Torn ordered. The Iron Spear's railgun sang as metal slugs tore through the nearest Scourge ship. Explosions blossomed like deadly flowers in space. Drones swarmed around enemy vessels, jamming sensors and disrupting communication. The enemy fought fiercely. Beams of energy lanced out, striking the Iron Spear's shields. The crew braced as the shields flickered under the pressure, shields at 60%. The tactical officer reported, "Keep steady," Torn commanded. "We have faced worse and survived." The Scourge pressed forward, trying to break through the trap. But the humans had planned for this. As enemy ships moved through the debris field, hidden turrets opened fire from wrecked ships, catching attackers by surprise. One Scourge cruiser exploded in a brilliant flash, its remains scattering across the void. Rion's heart pounded. This was what Deathworlders were made for, surviving impossible odds and turning them into victory. Suddenly, sensors detected a larger Scourge ship approaching from behind. It was a battle cruiser, heavily armed and armored. Torn's face hardened. "That's their heavy hitter. We can't let it reach us." "Prepare all weapons for focused fire," Rion said. The Iron Spear and its drones focused every available weapon on the cruiser. Railguns fired in rapid succession. Plasma bursts lit the darkness, and missiles streaked forward. The cruiser tried to respond, its shields flaring as it absorbed the attacks. But human firepower was relentless. A lucky hit struck its engine core. Flames erupted as the cruiser's engines faltered. The enemy ship drifted, then exploded in a shower of sparks and metal. The crew cheered, but they knew the battle was not over. Rellen's voice came over the comm. "Your firepower saved us. We owe you more than words." Rion smiled faintly. "We are glad to help. No one should face the Scourge alone." As the last enemy ships fled, rescue teams deployed to retrieve survivors from escape pods. Dr. Ellen's medbay prepared for the wounded, ready to treat those saved. Torn looked at Rion. "This fight will be remembered. We showed the galaxy what Deathworlders can do." Rion nodded. "And we will be ready when the next call comes." The Iron Spear and its allies turned homeward, leaving behind a battlefield marked by fire and courage. The stars shone brightly as if celebrating a hard-won victory. The Iron Spear floated quietly among the stars as the remnants of the battle faded behind them. The distant glow of the gas giant reflected softly on the ship's hull, marking the end of a long and brutal fight. Commander Rion stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the view outside. The vast darkness held no fear now. It held hope around him. The crew moved with a tired but proud energy. They had faced one of the most dangerous enemies in the known galaxy, and they had survived. They had fought not just for themselves, but for the alien species who had called for help. Captain Torn joined Rion, his face calm but thoughtful. "The Relari people will rebuild. Your firepower gave them a chance to live." Rion nodded. "And we showed the Scourge that humanity is not to be taken lightly. They will think twice before attacking again." The medical teams finished treating the last of the rescued survivors. Dr. Ellen reported that the injured were stable and would recover with time. The survivors were from the Relari fleet. They came from a world unknown to most humans, a planet shaped by harsh winds and deep oceans. Their culture was proud but broken by years of war. In the ship's mess hall, some of the Relari survivors gathered with the crew. Language barriers were bridged by translators and gestures. Slowly, Friendships formed. The Relari told stories of their homeworld, the beauty and danger of their seas, and the terrible cost of the Scourge's attacks. Rian listened closely, feeling the weight of their loss. He understood better than most what it meant to survive a harsh world. Humans had their own scars, their own battles over the coming days. The Iron Spear escorted the Relari survivors to a safe system where they could recover and plan their future. The human fleet would remain nearby, ready if the Scourge returned. One evening, as the stars twinkled beyond the bridge windows, Captain Torrance spoke quietly. You know, Rian, the galaxy has many dangers, but it also has many chances. This battle is only the beginning of something greater. Rian smiled. We have learned much. The call for help reached us, and we answered with firepower and courage. That is the legacy of the Deathworlders. Torn nodded, and we will carry that legacy forward. Wherever it leads, the stars outside seemed to shine brighter, as if the universe itself recognized the strength and spirit of those who fought not just for survival, but for hope. The Iron Spear and her crew prepared for their next mission. The galaxy was vast and full of unknown threats, but also full of allies waiting to be found. Commander Rian took a final look out into the dark and whispered, "We will always answer the call." With that promise, the ship's engines powered up. The Iron Spear jumped back into the stars, ready to face whatever the future held.